Hello everyone, I'm Alfian and today we are going to solve the Leetcode challenge on the challenge number 2108. Challenge name is find first palindromic string in the array. Given an array of string words, return the first palindromic string in the array. If there is no such string, return an empty string right here. To define that, since we are using the Java as for this video tutorial, I'm using Java as the language, and we can simply return empty string right here. And the function says public string of the first palindrome that takes the output, expected output data type as the string right here. And the function itself, it takes one parameter called words of the data type of string array. And for the first statement, it says return an empty string if we didn't find anything inside the words as the palindromic words. And let me tell you something. If we are using the Java, we should use the return as the empty string using the double quotes right here. If we are using the single quote right here, it will return an error, empty character literal error right here. So that is why we should use the double quotes instead of single quote to prevent the error from happening. Okay, so a string is palindromic if it reads the same forward and backward. Let me explain something about the palindromic string or palindromic word. Let's say we have ABC right here. If we happen to read the ABC backwards, in other words, from the last string to the first string right here, and it will be starting from C, B, and A, and of course CBA is not the same as ABC, so therefore it's not a palindromic word. What happens if it's ADA right here or ADA? If we read it letter by letter from the backwards, it says A, D, and A. If we read it from the front, it says A, D, and also A. So both are ADA and therefore it's palindromic. And also the same thing goes to racecar right here. So to our strategy to see if it's not palindromic or not, since we are using the words array right here as the string array right here, to save our time, the strategy I want to implement is if we happen to find let's say we are using two pointers to iterate our string right here inside the string array. If we happen to find the left and right pointer are not the same string of the entire words right here, then we should break the loop and we continue to our next iteration of the words string array. And if there is no palindrome at all, then we should return an empty string right here. So that is why I already stated as the return empty string right here. And the explanation says the first string that is palindromic is ADA, and the first occurrences of the palindromic words is of course the ADA right here. Racecar is also palindromic, but it is not placed as the first occurrence, so ADA will be returned instead. And for the example 2, not palindrome is of course not palindrome, because if we happen to check the n, simply checking the n or the left pointer with the right pointer of the e, n is not equals to e, so therefore it's not a palindrome. And racecar is a palindrome because R, so R, A, and C, and then E, they are still the same, and it will return the racecar instead of not a palindrome. And the example number 3 right here, there is no palindrome at all inside the words array, so it will be returning as just empty string. And the constraint, it says at least one of words of length, so it's at least one element of the words inside the words array, and the maximum element possible will be 100 words or 100 lengths of the words array right here. And for the number of character, so it resembles the words, since the square brackets of the I right here, it's resembling the number of characters, and length of one word right here inside the words array. So since D, E, and F right here is counting as 3, and so it's still inside the constraints number 2 right here, and the maximum character of a word is 100. So one element of the words array can be 100 letters, and the words right here of each element of the D, E, and F right here will also consist only of lowercase English letter. So it's always lower cases, not uppercase, so we don't have to worry about converting the check of the 2 pointers using the 2 lowercase method or anything. So we can simply check without using that method. And the hint number 1, iterate through the element in order. As soon as the current element is a palindrome, return it, of course. And the hint number 2, to check if an element is a palindrome, can we reverse the string? So that is the main question of this implementation. So without further ado, let's implement this by using the for loop, using a single pass to iterate the words array right here. We can define the in I equals 0 as long as I is below the words. Since it's data type of string array, then of course we can use the property of length, words.length, and I++. And to test this out, we can simply pass in our system out print line of the words of the current iteration. Let's say we are iterating ABC, and then for the next line we are iterating car and ADA and race car and cool. So let's run this to check. Okay, so looks like we off to a good start right here. We are iterating ABC, car, ADA, and so on and so forth, just like we intend to. So let's delete this. We need something to iterate every word right here to check using the palindrome. Of course, we are using the 2 pointers to check if A is equal C. Since it's not, then we should break the 2 pointers check, and we can return is palindromic as false, and we should continue the iteration of the words array to check if it's C is equal to R. Of course it's not, then we can skip it, and we can iterate to the next words array, check if A is equals to A right here, to the last index of the word string, and since A and A is equals, then we should continue the iteration. And since D is also equals to D because it's an odd numbers, then D is not going to check except checking for itself, and ADA will be returning as the first occurrence of the palindromic. To implement this, we can simply dissect our words of the current words iteration by using the character array of word array that takes the words using the method of toCharArray. Why am I using toCharArray right here? To simply put, we have to compare the first string with the last string right here using the 2 pointers approach. 2 pointers approach is usually used to reverse a string or to check if it's a palindrome or not, or something else that requires 2 pointers approach. So if we happen to use the, let's say we happen to use the system.out print line just by using the words of the current index right here, and let me put this and comment this out for now. Let's see if we iterating our current words of the words array of the ABC right here. So it's pointing to the first index, so it's pointing to the ABC right here, and then we check the first string of the word of the current iteration. Let's say if we want to return A, just A, or just first letter, or C right here and A right here and R right here, only the first letter of the word string. I bet it's not possible to do this directly, so let's test this out. Okay, it says array required but string is found. Is because the words of the current iteration are here. Since it's a string array, then of course the words with the square brackets with the defining the current index right here, we return the ABC, and we are using the index 0 directly in order to return the A right here. It is not possible, and it's expecting an array, and then we are operating it using just a string. In other words, if it's a string array, if we are using the words I right here, then it will return just a string without the array right here. It's because it's already iterated using the for loop right here. And to get around this, we can simply pass in the toCharArray as the method right here, and then chain it using the first index right here, and that way we can return the first letter of every word of the words array right here. It's A, it is A right here, and also C, and A again, only the first letter, and then R, and then C right here. I hope you get the idea right here. So let's comment this out. Let's go back to our implementation, and we convert the current iteration of words as the char array, and we can define the left pointer as 0, of course, and for the right pointer it takes the current words of the current iteration, and then using the length, since length is returning the count of the word. If we have A, D, and A right here, then we have length of 3. Since the array always starting from 0, then of course we have to subtract it by 1. Length 3, since A is on the index number 2 right here, and 3 will be out of bound, then of course we have to subtract it by 1, and so we get the right pointer, or the last element of the char array right here. And we can use the while loop as long as left pointer is still below the right pointer, and we can check if the word array of the left index is not equal to the word array of the right index. Then we can simply break our while loop, but before we break, then we need something to define if it's already not palindromic, by declaring is palindrome is equals to false. And of course we need something called the boolean, called the is palindrome, to carry the palindrome check is equals true right here. And why am I using the if check right here? If word array of the left index and the word array of the right pointer or the right index is not equals, like I said earlier, is checking if A is equals to C. Since it's not, then it is not palindrome, then we can skip it to the next iteration of the words array. And then let's say ADA is not there, let's go iterate right here. For the first iteration, R is equals to R right here, and of course we have to left plus plus, shifting the left pointer by 1 and shifting the right pointer by 1, and shifting right pointer to the left and left pointer to the right. And we still looping using the while loop. The A right here, checking is if A is equals to A right here, or the second last elements with the second from the left, or the second element of the array. Wow, I'm so mouthful explaining this. And then checking, of course, A is equals to A right here, and we can continue the iteration. C equals to C, and of course E equals to E, and therefore it's returning a palindrome. We can add a check. Why am I using the boolean is palindrome to true right here? It's because we are adding a check initially to see if the current words right here survives the palindromic check using the while loop right here. If it survives, then we can simply use the if is palindrome. If it survives the palindromic check, then we can simply return the current words of the words array. So let's run this to see if it works. Looks like we have an error right here. It says cannot find symbol of the property length right here. It's because I was skipping the words check right here instead by using the word array, since word array has the property of the length, and words of I right here doesn't contain any length property. So let's change this using the word array, and of course we are going to return the length of the current word iteration. So let's run this again to see if it works. It's all accepted with 0 millisecond of the processing time. So let's run this. And I think the memory complexity is always redundant. If we happen to run this again, then it will stay on another chart. Look, of course we beat the 60% of all submission right here, so it doesn't matter. Okay, I hope you understand this explanation. If you still don't understand, you can ask me in the comment section, or if you have any better solutions regarding this challenge, you can tell us what you think in the comment section, and we can have a discussion right there. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.